Hey everybody, welcome back to Matt and Stu Review, where we're taking a look at your favorite toys from yesterday and today. Stuart, what do we have on the table?
Today, I thought we'd take a look at some of my dioramas from the last couple of years. These are some of my more traditionally built dioramas, so
Uh,
not as much 3D printing, more really just craft style dioramas.
yeah, just straight up hobbying.
Straight up hobbying.
Nice.
I affectionately call this one my sci-fi dollhouse,
Uh-huh.
because essentially it's a sci-fi dollhouse.
Yeah, nice little cantina scene here, or like, whatever you want to call it.
Exactly. And for those of you that don't know, Matt actually owns a camper van shop here in Colorado, and some of our material that we use in the shop ends up as scrap, and I'm able to use that to build dioramas.
Yeah, lots of cool toys for us to build with, CNCs, laser cutters, also, kind of a hobbyist dream, and lots of free material because we have a lot of scrap.
Yep. So lucky me, right? Also lucky me that Matt himself is also an artist. He actually created all of the arabesque signs that you see on our laser cutter here at the shop.
Yeah.
I used a couple of different techniques and materials in this diorama.
Mhm.
One of the materials that I'm sure our audience is familiar with is this XPS foam. We use it for insulation in the shop, but it's an incredibly malleable material, really easy to carve, really easy to shape. It takes paint well. And so I've used that for pretty much any of the dimensional items that you see here, the big, thick, kind of concrete sections.
Yep.
And then the other material I used was our 1/4 inch Baltic birch. And essentially I started with that, built the frame out of the Baltic birch, and then added from there.
It's a pretty cool scene. I like the doorways. I like the multiple levels is really cool. Why are you compelled to build things like this?
I like to take action figure photographs. I like to pose the figures. I like to put them in fight scenes. I like to put them in funny scenes. I've recently got more and more into photography, and I found that the larger scale diorama you have, the better pictures, at least for me, that I'm able to take.
Yeah, sure.
I also am pretty committed to doing all of my effects in camera. So I want the diorama to speak to the audience rather than any kind of like Photoshop or digital manipulation afterwards. It's really popular in the action figure photography community, and it can be very cool, but I just prefer to take a straight shot.
So you mean like diegetic stuff, like in-scene lighting, that kind of a thing, or
Exactly.
what?
In-scene lighting, if
Okay.
I was going to do smoke, I want real smoke. If I'm going to have, light shining through a window, I really want to have light shining through a window.
Okay. Yeah.
For example, with this diorama, I always try to incorporate some sort of transparent material into a diorama,
Mhm.
because having that light come through just really adds to the atmosphere.
Yeah, a lot more life to it. It seems a little more real.
Some novel techniques I also used in this diorama. I used some chain from the craft store and mounted it to some little dowels to make that railing for
Yeah.
the thing. I actually used a Build-A-Figure piece, Stiltman's legs, for the pipes that you see inside there. So there was a
Oh, Mando.
Stiltman Build-A-Figure that had these like really, really long legs.
That's
And
this one inside here.
yeah, and they came with a ninja. So I bought 4 of those ninjas, ended up with 4 of those legs. And
Yeah.
I was never going to do the rest of the figure, but they work perfectly for this.
Yeah, that's great.
This is the second diorama that I ever built, and I just wanted to point out a couple of things to you. If you look there at the door on the top level,
Uh-huh.
the one that kind of comes out of the elevator,
Yeah, this one up here.
yeah, that's a really, now I would say, crude door that I built when I was first getting into dioramas and sort of figuring out my techniques.
Yep.
If you look at that door on the first level there,
Oh yeah.
that is a 3D printed and painted door from a maker called Grime City that makes amazing action figure diorama props.
Yeah, it's a no offense, it's definitely higher level than the rest of the diorama.
It sticks out a little bit, but I think it works. This is my only sci-fi diorama, so it's the only place I had to put a sci-fi door.
Yeah, no, it's pretty cool. And like I think putting a little accessory like that into the diorama is like, it's cool to have some like nice finer details, and like everything else can be a little more fabricated or, hobbied.
Yeah.
Um,
It also helps like when you're taking a shot to sort of add those props to sort of add to the depth of field of the photo too,
oh yeah,
because you
totally.
can place them in the foreground, background,
Mhm.
with your figures.
Yeah, like you have a crate here by next to Mando.
Yeah.
So same kind of thing. Is that another 3D printed piece, or does
So
that come
that's
from a toy
actually a
kit?
3D printed piece that I did on our FDM printer here. It
Cool.
even opens up.
All right, Stuart. I see we have a change of scenery, quite literally. So what are we looking at here now on the table?
So what we have here is sort of a representation of my progression in diorama building. Each year I try to build a Weapon X facility diorama.
Mhm.
So that includes a bunker door, snow and sort of a wilderness, setting.
Yeah.
I've got one that's just a wilderness setting for when you want to do maybe a medieval type character or someone who's, not supposed to be urban or suburban or,
Yeah, like our Conan figure we reviewed.
exactly.
Okay.
And then over there, we have kind of the bread and butter of what I do, which is, the brick wall urban scene. And
Yeah.
that's where most of my photography and figures end up.
Yes, I definitely recognize the brick walls. I helped you make some of these early on.
You helped me design the bricks.
Well, yeah, they're really sweet. Why don't you break down like a couple of your favorite features of like your Weapon X facility over here?
So this Weapon X facility is the second one that I did. One thing that I was really pleased with this one was the way that the snow turned out.
Uh-huh.
What do you think of the snow?
It looks pretty good. It's not too heavy. It's like I like that it's like kind of filled into some of the crevices, things like that.
The first diorama that I did with snow, I actually used like that sparkly, flaky snow that like
Yeah.
grandmas put on their,
Uh-huh.
Christmas decoration table.
Uh-huh.
It looked terrible. It just looked really cheesy. It never looked right. It's out of scale. This is some snow from Vallejo, who does
Oh yeah.
paints, for dioramas and for miniatures. So I'm super pleased with the way the snow turned out on this one.
How old is that snow? I know like if you do like a baking soda, you make your own. Sometimes they can yellow over time.
I'd
Similar,
say
or is it?
this is about a year and a half old. I don't
Good.
anticipate this yellowing. If I were to improve on it, or when I do go to improve on it, I'd like to get some more sparkles in the snow at this texture. So maybe some white sand
Oh,
sprinkled on top or something that'll reflect light a little more.
so what sets this diorama over here apart from your like all natural setting?
Well, so I've got the bunker door there. This is cool for, a hidden facility. Again, I've always loved Weapon X,
Yeah.
and there's a specific Barry Windsor Smith Weapon X comic where, he comes out of his bunker and he's fighting wolves and bears and
Oh,
they're
yeah.
testing him on, creatures. And I don't know, it's always just spoken to me.
Yeah, totally.
I love Wolverine, but I especially love Weapon X.
Yeah. So the door on that looks pretty good too, though. Is that one you hand built, or is that a 3D printed door?
So this door is actually laser cut and then sort of constructed. So I laser cut the frame and the door, just kind of simple rectangles.
Yep.
Then I took some PVC tubing and actually made these little hinges there. So I glued those in. I tried to lay the glue down to look like beads of weld. So
Uh-huh.
you would get a little bit of like metallic look to it. Painted it metal and then just destroyed the hell out of
Distressed
it.
it,
Yeah,
yeah.
distressed it as much as possible. All kinds of ink washes and
Yeah. I mean,
dry
I can
brush.
definitely see that you like stepped it up between the sci-fi door that you hand built and this one. Big amount of progression there.
And I'd say like for engineered things like that,
Yeah.
doors and whatnot, I mean, it's hard to beat the 3D printer and the laser cutter.
Okay.
And then this is meant to be more of a medieval natural setting. I honestly built this to display a golem figure. So it's got a little golem cave on the back.
Okay.
I try to make most of my dioramas able to be used, from multiple sides, especially if they're in this more three-dimensional type realm.
Yeah.
This one I had originally built to sort of be multi-purpose for
Okay.
32 and 28 millimeter miniatures who could be kind of climbing up this trail, or action figures that could just be standing in front of the wall.
Oh, okay. So like 40K stuff.
Yeah.
Or bigger than that.
No, 40K.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
sweet.
so I've had little groups of D&D characters, climbing the mountain there.
Nice. Yeah. Over the Misty Mountain.
Yep.
Okay. Sweet.
So these dioramas are really my pride and joy and what
Uh-huh.
I'm doing the most of lately. It took me quite some time to really figure out the methodology to make realistic looking brick walls.
Yeah.
For
Totally.
a long time, I didn't put grout in them,
Mhm.
and I thought they were fine. But now that I've put grout in them, they weren't fine.
Yeah.
So this is actually laser cut and engraved Baltic birch. I then apply my secret texture mixture to
Uh-huh.
the bricks, and then use various spray paints to actually get the brick color. I then take lightweight spackling and actually grout the bricks. I use a screen printing squeegee
Mhm.
to pull the lightweight spackle across the bricks, and it actually does a great job of leaving it just in the cracks. I found that for the most part, you don't even need to wipe it off afterwards
Yeah.
with that squeegee. So,
That's cool.
pro tip for you there if any of you are grouting your brick walls.
Yeah. I think laser cutting the bricks, it's just like such a perfect machine precision. I've seen lots of like hand built brick walls and things like that out of XPS. Big fan of Black Magic Craft channel.
Oh, yeah.
So like I watch a ton of his stuff, and he is always hand building things, and it's like a little more authentic, he says. But this, as far as like this scale and everything like that, I think brick walls are pretty awesome.
Yeah, I have a tendency to kind of try to fuzz the background out too, to again
Mhm.
add to that depth of field.
Yeah.
So, I'm not too worried about the authenticity of the brick walls.
Yeah.
I grabbed a couple of other kind of urban items that I've made out of these same materials. So these are actually foam I'd say 2x6s
Yeah.
for a action figure that I made. They're great to just throw in the diorama and add a little context, add a little
Yeah.
destruction.
Yeah. You need some extra like scenery pieces
And
for
these are
sure.
just random pieces of that XPS foam that I textured and dry brushed, and I use them as sort of concrete rubble.
Yeah, that makes sense to me, totally. And yeah, I can see you have the windows here too. We actually threw a light behind here, so you can see some of that scene lighting going through the windows. Let's turn the thing around and show everybody what it looks like from the back, so they can see how you did these.
Perfect. So I love to use trash in my dioramas as much as possible.
Uh huh.
Partly because it's free. So I actually use the clear plastic from my action figures to make these windows. I'll spray them with an airbrush
Yeah.
to give them a little bit of opaqueness, and then also some dingy dirtiness,
Yeah.
and glue them right on.
It's such a cool effect coming through the back of the thing, and like in the photography, having a little bit of light coming through those. Very cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Another thing I was really proud of now that I'm seeing on this diorama is this sort of faded out sign
Oh
above the door
yeah.
there.
Okay.
I think it says here, I think is what I was trying to make
Uh
it
huh.
look like, but I had some extra grout that actually did stick up there, and I added the
Went with
paint
it.
to it. Yeah, just went with it, and that's another fun thing about dioramas is just kind of following where the art leads you. I'm really proud. I feel like in this diorama, I've done my Grime City door some justice.
Yeah, 100%. I definitely agree with that. It definitely seems like it fits the scene. So, good job.
Yeah, well, and I really appreciate Grime City because he knows how to do graffiti that looks cool.
Yeah.
I've tried a couple times to do some cool looking graffiti on my walls and has not been successful yet.
Yeah, same here. I've tried to practice at home and I don't have it. Yeah, I
Yeah.
never really had it, honestly.
So now that we've taken a look at some of these dioramas,
Mhm.
I want to ask you, Matt, which one is your favorite?
Well, okay, I've been thinking about this and I'm more partial to like the cityscape because I like 3D printing, I like doing design work, things like that. I like the hard edges and like the machine precision of the brickwork of like the parapet or the top of the wall here. The windows, I like the luminosity coming through the windows. I think there's just so much more going on there.
Yeah.
I think it makes for a better diorama, or not better, but just more interesting or more compelling to me. So personally, I like that brick. It really speaks to me. I'm not as big of a fantasy person either. And so like the older school, like all natural fantasy thing isn't my vibe. The Weapon X thing is cool and it's like a good mix of that. But again, the precision and like that detail that comes through, like when it has that depth of field in a photography piece, I really like the way it looks in the background. Really fills the scene out. Yeah.
I like the urban ones the most as
Yeah,
well.
I mean, there's a lot of them around here too. So
There
yeah,
are.
I think it's pretty obvious you like them. Yes. And this is the time where we want to hear from you. Stuart is looking for some inspiration on his next diorama scene. So let us know in the comments what kind of genre scene should Stuart tackle next for his hobby dioramas.
Thanks for watching, everyone. This has been an overview of some of my dioramas from the last 2 years. If you liked dioramas and action figure reviews, be sure to like and subscribe.
And we'll see you on the next episode. Bye.